Let's get ready to rumble!
Welcome to Boxing Unwrapped. It's Boxing Unwrapped, a boxing podcast that called how poor BJS would be. I'm Ryan.
I'm Andrew. Did we?
I think we did. I think we did. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure we said that he would be out there to be flash looking, but rusty. I think.
Well, we'll get on to it.
We'll get on to it. Do you want to tell the good people what we've got in store for them?
We're going to talk about what the F are the results from last week. That includes some world class fighters and some world class nuggets. We'll have a little bit of everything. What are the fights this weekend? There's only one, literally, well, not literally, but really there's only one fight worth talking about this weekend, coming direct to you from Bonnie, Scotland, but it is a good one. What the F went wrong last week, we can touch on that. We have a fair amount of random news to pile through across the course. Yeah. Some of our usual favourites in there, Ryan. There's just... there's like Pareto's law where 80%, there's the 80-20 rule. Well, in boxing, it's the 199 where 1% of the boxers occupy 99% of the media's entertainment. Yeah. We're going to talk about what grinds our gears. I've got one. I'm not alone on this one, I don't think. And we can round off with a little bit of Listener Corner.
Well, then, let's dive into what the F are the results from last week.
Where would you like to start?
Well, why don't we talk about the World Boxing Super Series?
Okay.
Why don't we talk about Little Inoue, as in younger Inoue, the younger of the Inoues.
The younger and less good Inoue.
Yeah, I know. Do you know what? Like, I think it's a shame. I think he's been hyped a little bit, Takuma Inoue, because... he did not stack up against Ubali.
No, he didn't disgrace himself.
No.
It was a competitive fight, but Nordine Ubali was the clear and just winner in that occasion.
Totally. There was no monstering about.
There was no monstering about. No, and he was competitive and brave all the way through, anyway. But he was deservedly, he was deservedly beaten.
Yeah, deservedly beaten. I think that's like a fair thing to say. Like there was no, there's no question about saying like whether he was beaten or not. He was definitely beaten. So. Ubali has avenged himself. It's a bit like a manga novel, really, isn't it? If you think about it.
Go on.
Well, because, like, obviously, Ubali has now, like, obviously beaten Takuma. So, I can now see that they're, like, the older brother avenging the beating.
Okay, sorry. I thought you were talking about something that happened already. Yes, no, I agree. I agree with you. Yes. Agreed.
So there'll be like a revenge match against the old brother, where then I don't know the older Inoue rips out the heart of Ubali, but
then Ubali comes back from the dead and eats his face.
Yeah, something like that. That would be the manga novel. But
yeah.
So younger Inoue beat, but let us make sure we have plenty of time to talk about the main event. Naoya Inoue versus Nonito Donaire, and I, for one, owe Mr. Nonito Donaire a severe apology.
I think I did as well. I think. Yeah. Did you say you get knocked out in the first round?
Yeah, I think I said within 30 seconds.
To be honest, I think Boxing Unwrapped are not averse to holding their hands up and saying we do not actually have a crystal ball. We do get things wrong. We're not flawless, and sometimes we get a little bit carried away with ourselves with our predictions, and we underestimate the durability of certain fighters, and maybe we overestimate, maybe we get carried away in the bandwagon with others.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I was watching, I was thinking, well, part of this is because in many ways, Nonito Donaire was a complete. He was a bit of an unknown quantity because he spent so little time fighting, and the people that he did fight were at levels that were so far below him that, in fact, you couldn't really pitch where he was. And it's the same with Inoue was so destructive the entire tournament that you could only expect him to continue being destructive. But I don't know if you noticed, but Nonito Donaire looked so much bigger than Inoue.
He did look big. He looked really big.
He looked really big. And, Inoue didn't really look like he kind of rehydrated. He was still so lean. I mean,
yeah, I'm sure he did, but maybe Donaire's got that down because remember, and obviously boxing fans will know this. Obviously this is the case, but so Donaire's come down in weight, which is weird because obviously his age. He's 36, 37, but before he was fighting at featherweight, and then he's come back down. So he's. Which is an odd thing to do in the later stages of his career, but it's not like he's coming. Whereas normally fighters you go up as your career goes on, but he's actually come down. So the fact that he was able to make these meant that I guess when he's puffed back up because he is the bigger man. So, but and it did seem visible during the fight. I agree with you, and obviously it seemed to have some bearing on his abilities to absorb shots. Because maybe I was just like twizzling through his record really quick then. So he's only been stopped once by Nicholas Walters, and that was at featherweight. And Walters can bang. Like I'm sure he's renowned for being a big puncher, and also he is. Obviously was fighting at a higher weight division as well. So the fact, so my point is that that's the only man to have stopped him. So maybe, and he's been in with obviously lots of guys. He's lost some fights, but he's never been stopped. So apart from that one fight against Walters, which was 5 years ago, and it was in a higher division. So maybe we underestimated his punch resistance, especially at bantamweight.
And it was a very, very good fight.
It was a very good fight. Yeah,
I think Inoue Donaire showed heart as well. I mean, when there were a few times when I thought Inoue was actually going to get him, especially in the 11th.
He was on the brink. He was.
And Inoue just didn't manage to end the job, but Inoue was also super lucky that cut didn't open up more and more and more. And I think that cut definitely hampered him because he basically had to hold his hand in front of his eyebrow for most of the fight. So it didn't rip open.
He had a broken bone. It was the orbital, is that the bone above his eyebrow? So he had a broken bone in his eye, or above his eye. He had the gash, and he had a broken bone in his nose as well. I mean, I knew he took some punishment as well.
Yeah. But I think some of it as well is like actually his defense is very loose. He doesn't tend to hold his hands up that much. And
I think because he is so aggressive as well, obviously when you're swinging, you can get countered.
Yeah.
Donaire never gave him a free go where he's just like, I'm just going to cover up. He nearly always swung back. He was like, I will make this a brawl sort of thing. He wasn't content to try and avoid. He was like, I want to make him pay every time he wants to swing at me. Which is one of the reasons why it was so compelling, because it was like this proper trading stuff. And
like honestly, I put something up on the Facebook page because literally, like, I was too busy at lunchtime to watch the fight. So I came across that it was on like, I think they call it Sky Sports Mix or something. So, like, if you've got Sky, you have this random free Sky Sports channel that shows, like, the odd football game and other weird shit. And it was, like, World Boxing Super Series, and it showed, like, the actual fight. And, like, I came across it. My girlfriend was like, what? There's fucking boxing on. It's Thursday night. What are you doing? And I was like, holy shit, I can't believe this fight's on. So I got to watch it in, like, proper HD with, like, no shitty stream qualities and stuff. It was fucking great. It's really good. But it was definitely a great fight. One thing that I thought was really cute about all this, actually, at the end, is Inoue and Donaire had said to like his kids that he was going to bring the Muhammad Ali trophy back with him.
Yeah.
And because obviously he lost, he couldn't. So he asked Inoue and Inoue if he could bring it with him home. And Inoue and Inoue said, "Yeah, cool, I'll take it."
I saw the picture of it. They seem to have a genuinely deep felt respect, and I think Donaire's kind of like that. I think he seems to be widely regarded as one of the nicest men in boxing. Which I think is probably he must have done something to it must be merited. You know?
Again, and I have to say this again, the World Boxing Super Series delivers an incredible final. The two finals have been so highly competitive. They've been really interesting boxing matches, really back and forth with high level operators, and I think it goes to show the value of this sort of competition. It's just a shame that it's so poorly organized.
Yeah, it goes to show that even a fucking like an absolute shambles sometimes works out. You know, So, you know because yeah, that like you're saying, it has been a mess in terms of the organization stuff, but. But yeah, the outcome of the two finals has been like spectacular. They've been absolutely brilliant. So, what can you do?
So, well, shall we go from the spectacular to the shit-tacular? Saturday into Sunday, the KSI Logan Paul bill. We could start with Mr. Bill. Billy Joe Saunders versus Marcelo Esteban Caceres.
Was he? Do you think he was shit so as to kind of set the crowd's expectation for KSI Logan Paul? Was that his plan? Was it to act as an anchoring point of rubbishness?
I mean, if only BJS was that smart. I think like obviously this was his. I need to break through into the States so that I show that I'm like a good competitor for Canelo fight. And I think that he went in thinking he was going to destroy Caceres very easily. And I think Caceres really showed how rusty BJS was.
I think so. He looked terrible. I thought Caceres was probably better than everyone thought he was going to be. But BJS just looked so ponderous and so like short of ideas and just having no sort of fluidity or speed or it was a really like just laboured performance. I know there's been various chat about the reasons why that might have been. There's been a lot of talk about why did he only arrive in the US, like, 5 days? Something like that, 5 days before the fight. That seems like a very, very small window to get yourself in order, really. I don't know why you wouldn't just go and set up, like, a few weeks or whatever. Like, that's much more the norm, isn't it, for boxers that have good payrolls, a good bank balance.
Unless he was afraid of some sort of, like, nasal issue. Do you know what I mean? See, the only thing I can think of is just afraid of like stepping foot in the United States and getting drug tested and like then ending up, failing for a nasal spray or something.
I think he's afraid of making a sensible decision. That's what I think he's afraid of. There's chat about he was a bit ill as well, whatever. So
there's always chat about him.
There's always. I think it's what you say, isn't it? It's the sort of stock answer when you're beaten. You say, "Well, I was a bit ill." It's like I have, a crippling disease. That's why I lost marginally. But I didn't talk about it beforehand. I only talked about it afterwards. It's worse. I think the finish was good. So if people were just watching like 2 or 3 minute, so if I watched, first of all, I watched the official like 2 or 3 minute highlights, whatever it was, and in that you got the idea that this is it's quite interesting fight. Caceres is doing quite well. Oh, brilliant finish.
Yeah,
it was dominant and then a brilliant finish.
Very well edited.
Yeah, the reality was nothing like that, but and if you watch the whole thing, then you see entirely different. But if you just watch that highlights reel stuff, then you go, what? And he looked good doing the knockout. Like he suddenly came to life, didn't he? And he was spinning around and he was catching him with the sweet angles and stuff. So if you just watch that, you'll be like, oh yeah, maybe this guy's pretty dangerous. But obviously, if you watch the whole fight, you'll be like, he doesn't stand a chance fighting Canelo like that.
No.
So I don't know. I don't think he's a super middle. I don't see why. He's not one of these guys, as far as I can tell, that should have a massive issue making middle. And I've spoken about it before. Like, if you don't have a big issue making the weight, then why are you moving up? Canelo's doing it because he's wanting to like legacy build and stuff. But like, it's not like BJS had collected all the belts at middle, and all the big fights were at middle, not super middle. So I don't,
But it's also it's less competitive at the moment within super middle.
Yes.
And I think it's a business decision more than anything.
Well, I mean, he failed that. He wouldn't. None of this would have happened if he hadn't failed because he was going to fight Andrade at middle, but then obviously he failed the drugs test.
Yes.
I don't know, but I mean, he looked terrible against the Sufi, and he looked terrible against Caceres. You're kind of going, right, is something going on here? Do you know what I mean? Like, is it that he's actually a little bit in decline here?
He shouldn't be in decline. That's the thing. He's very promising. Was very promising.
I know.
That's the thing that's sad about it.
I know.
Like, it really doesn't make any sense to me at all, actually. It really doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Agree.
So, anyway, let's move on. We'll talk a little bit better. Devin Haney, my boy, Devin Haney. God.
Are you liking the Haney? Are you on board the Haney? The Haney hype
Haney Express. The only thing that I would say about Devin Haney is he does not deserve that belt.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't deserve that belt, and that's the thing. I think I think it's ridiculous that he got that belt.
By default.
By default, and I think that unfortunately, it does him no good. Like, obviously, you can say he's a belt holder, fantastic, whatever, but it does. He hasn't won that belt, so it hasn't really helped him out in many ways. But I do like him.
He's very easy on the eye, isn't he?
Super flash.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens next with him. Where does he go? He's very easy to like. He's a good watch. Well,
there's chats about Devin Haney versus Javier Fortuna. Right, the WBC have now ordered this.
Yes, straight away. This is your next mandatory.
This is your next mandatory. He's got until December 13th. Which, look, I'm kind of a bit. I mean, the WBC is always going to be the WBC, right? But there are other lightweights in the WBC that I think probably deserve a title shot. Even fucking Luke Campbell, for fuck's sake. Do you know what I mean? Like,
be an interesting fight. You could fight Campbell.
He should fight Campbell. I think. I mean, Campbell did very well against Lomachenko. So,
to a point, yeah.
Yeah.
But you've got Comey and what's his chops? Lopez are fighting, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean,
the winner to fight Lomachenko. Garcia, we don't know what's happening with Mikey Garcia. Is he back? Is he back fighting at lightweight? Don't know.
No one knows. And what kind of puzzled me about this as well is Gervonta Davis is actually ranked number 1 by the WBC. So why is Javier Fortuna at lightweight?
Oh, of course, because he's saying he's going to fight at lightweight next. Well,
So he's ranked
fight
one.
him.
Fight. I don't understand why that he's not the mandatory. Do you know what I mean? This is when the WBC blows my mind somehow. When they give like mandatory title shots to guys who aren't ranked number one.
It's just their way. It's just their way, right? They're just quirky.
They're so fucking quirky. So anyway, that is that. Let's talk about the YouTubers. KSI Logan Paul.
There's some really funny clips and excerpts doing the rounds on social media. I'm sure you've come across some of them.
Yeah.
There's one where it's like a sequence of like wild swings that are like, 12 inches away from connecting on each occasion. It's like they're just like arcing their arms through the sky with no intention of hitting the other person.
Well, see what I don't understand about this, right, is both these guys trained with professional trainers for a very, very long time.
Several months, because they had the build up for the first one, didn't they? So
exactly.
in total they've had maybe like 5 months or 6 months of like full-time, high-quality boxing training.
Exactly. So what I don't understand about this, Andy, is
why it's so shit.
Why were they so shit, right? Like Logan Paul, like didn't like other than like I think he moved a bit like a boxer at points, and he obviously like held KSI a lot, but he in no way did he like throw punches like a boxer or punch and move, and really neither did KSI. So it was really poor quality. It was again like what it's watching like a white collar like being the headline act. But we must also say it did some fucking buys, mate.
Has there been anything official been released or anything said about the number of people that watched?
Well, so Eddie Hearn said it did more buys than Joshua Ruiz, which is pretty substantial if you think about it. He said it totally drove DAZN's subscriptions in the States, and in the UK did more buys than Ruiz Joshua, which is pretty fucking big, so but the thing is now, like, I think that this might start a trend of like driving these kind of crossover, like not even boxer into like headline boxing matches and stuff, which I think kind of detracts so much from the actual sport when it's mixed like this. Because it was shit. It was shit. And they both looked so gassed as well. Right? And like, it was only 6 rounds. And what blows my mind as well, right, is why don't they do 7? So 7 rounds. So then it would have never been a tie on any of the cards.
Is that a thing?
What, 7 rounds?
Yeah.
No, not usually. Well, I mean, I suppose it was usually 6, 8, or 10. But if you did 7, then you wouldn't have a tie?
Yeah, well, you could technically, but it's less likely, yeah.
It's much less likely.
Here, I've just, as we were speaking, right, this is quite off topic, right? But I think it's worth mentioning. Do you remember back in the day, we used to spend a bit more time chatting about pay-per-views, and one of the things we said is that ITV and BT never released their pay-per-view numbers.
Yes.
So, because I think we had beers riding on this. I've just gone on the Wikipedia page, right, for UK pay-per-views, and it is saying that Wilder versus Fury did on BT Sport overnight, remember, obviously, the night, 420,000.
Really?
There's a figure
did you not speak to them? Did you not phone them up and speak to them about this?
No, it was ITV I contacted, and they said, we do not release them. Now, this is not, I don't think, like an official source, but it's saying, so it could be kind of bullshit, but it's from a website called Sporting News. Written by, it's your pal, Ryan.
What, that guy from the shittier Scottish boxing podcast? Craig Scott?
No.
Oh.
No, the guy who you were critical of, the really renowned boxer.
Oh, the renowned boxing journalist, the guy who called out fucking Dillian White. That guy.
Did he call it Dillian White?
Yeah, is he not the guy, the boxing science guy? Boxing scene guy that came out and said,
yes.
Like, yeah.
Yes, so the article's written by him, but he's saying, so it's probably right.
Yeah.
It did. He's saying it did 315,000 buys on Showtime. This guy, 315,000 buys on Showtime and 420,000 in the BT Sport in the UK. Now, we'll have to listen back to our back catalogue because we said this would never get released. We would never know. But if we're assuming that these are broadly accurate, this boy's figures, then we could re-evaluate or re-examine our bet results because we did the bets on this. You know, I've quite a lot of beers riding on this, but I can't remember what we said because it was so long ago, and I thought we would never know. So there we go. There we go. Just when you thought. So 420, 300,000. 300,000 in the US, given obviously how expensive it was, like whatever, $50, $60, $70. And of the Joshua Ruiz was 562,000 the first fight. So if it was more than that in the UK, well, it tells you it'd be like 600 plus or whatever. So. And Taylor Prograis did 176,000. Not very many.
No, that's not very many. Not very many at all.
Compared to Lomachenko, Campbell did 205, which is not much better. Dillian White versus Oscar Rivas, 289. White versus Chisora, 2438. So.
Ooh.
So. Anywho, so we'll see what it comes out with, but we know it's going to be north of that. And obviously, like you're saying, Hearn said it was very good for the old Zone subscriptions, didn't he? So.
Well, there we go. So, let's move on then to what the F are the fights this weekend?
There's only one fight this weekend.
There is only one fight this weekend.
You sounded like doing the scary film guy.
Scary film guy. I know.
There's only one fight.
There's only one fight this weekend.
This weekend, there can be only one fight. Would you like to talk about it?
Yes, let's talk about it because it hails from Glasgow this weekend. And it's a bit of a kind of grudge match. Lee McGregor.
Sort of like a grudge match?
Oh, it is a grudge match. Lee McGregor versus Kash Farooq. So we have talked about this in the past, actually. When Farooq won his last fight, we did talk about this happening.
We did. They both were up for it, were they? They both said right away, we should fight.
Yes, they are. So... obviously, this, I find this really interesting. So this is for the British Board of Boxing Control Bantamweight title. You've got Kash Farooq, who is 13-0, 6 KOs. We talked about him last when he fought Dwayne Winters. Earlier in the year, we did remember Dwayne.
Dwayne was too rubbish.
He was too shit. And Lee McGregor is 7 fights in with 6 KOs. Lightning Lee McGregor.
Good one.
Well, he hails from Edinburgh, so I think I'll have to go for Lee McGregor myself, and say he wins. But I think it's pretty evenly matched. Actually, it's a pretty evenly matched fight, and what makes it most exciting.
I think this is pretty cool because it's a fight where they're both saying they're prepared to put their unbeaten records on the line at a much earlier stage than anyone would force them to do in terms of their career, because they're both young and they're both relatively inexperienced. And this is like, I think most of the bookies have it as like a 60-40 in Farouk's favour.
Yes.
So very competitive.
It's very competitive, and it's on YouTube and ESPN. That's cool, man. I think that's good
really
shit.
good.
That's
We're
really
a
good
fan
shit.
of that.
You know, I am a little bit. I mean, I might be wrong, but that it's not on there. But like, I'm a little bit disappointed that it's not on that BBC Scotland channel that no one watches.
Could you not? Do you know? Could this not be on like? Yeah, BBC, just normal BBC channel, or could it not be on like Channel 5 or something? Because surely it wouldn't cost that much to pick this up. Like, if they're going to show it for free anyway, surely, I mean, Channel 5 have put some utter nonsense boxing on. So, you know, if you want to do it, you can, I don't know, maybe it's because it's two Scottish fighters, it's less of a draw. But you think do people watch Channel 5 otherwise? I don't know. You'd think there would be some interest from the reasonably, like, boxing fans that are not so super casual would identify this as being a good fight. I think there's a very good chance it will be an entertaining fight. You know, I think it'll be reasonably high quality, reasonably high action kind of affair.
And I don't understand. You know, obviously they picked up the Hannah Rankin fight, so why would that BBC Scotland channel not pick this up?
And they've shown Farouk's fights before.
Yeah, they have. So it's a weird one that they're not showing this, but you know, I think we have to kind of see how that goes. You know,
I'm going for Farouk. I think he's pretty elusive, slick skills. I think he'll win on points.
Interesting. Well, yeah, I think it definitely goes to points. Just because he's from Edinburgh, I'm going to say Lee McGregor. I'm going to go that way. I'm going to go East Coast. East Coast, baby.
East Coast. Okay.
East Coast.
Like it, but definitely worth watching. Ring walks, what time is it? Like 9 or 10 o'clock it's supposed to be on that?
Yeah. So 9:30 ring walk or something.
Don't quote us on that. Let's have a look. But the important thing is it should be on YouTube for free, which is very cool. So,
well, now let us move on to our newest segment, the 6 Degrees of Danny Williams. And I've got an interesting one this week.
You do it every week, Ryan. Every week it's an interesting one. You see that's so interesting, and I say that is so interesting, Ryan. Thank you so much for that. Really
right,
appreciate it.
So this week, we need you to get from Jerrell Miller to Danny Williams in less than 6 or less.
Jerrell Miller.
Right. Big baby himself.
Yeah. No. Who was it he fought really ponderously?
Everyone.
That's just his way. Oh, there's loads of ways to do this, but I've just thought of an easy one.
Okay.
I think relatively. Gerald Washington. He fought him, didn't he?
He did fight Gerald Washington, yes.
Who fought Deontay Wilder?
Yes. Okay, yeah.
Who fought Audley Harrison?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Who fought Danny Williams?
Absolutely.
Easy.
I'd gone a slightly more interesting route.
Go on.
All right. Jerrell Miller fought Johan Dupas. Dupas.
I was going to go with Dupas initially.
Johan Dupas fought Manuel Char.
Oh, I'd love to get Char in there.
Manuel Char fought Danny Williams.
Oh, did he? I forget that.
Yeah.
The reason I go the routes I do is because I forget everyone Danny Williams has fought apart from Audrey Harrison.
Yeah, totally. Like, you only really need to remember Audrey Harrison, Derek Chisora, and Mike Tyson, and you've pretty much covered them all.
And if you're struggling, you're not sure who to say, just go Char.
Manuel Char, Maris Bradis.
No, I'd forgotten that. I was gonna say Dupas, and then I'm like, no, I know Washington did, so I was like, that's easy. But Dupas was who I was going to start going with. I couldn't remember if it was Dupas or Helenius. I always get them muddled up, but I thought it was Dupas. Anyway, nice. That wasn't too bad.
Nah, it was good, but it was an interesting one. So, well, Andy, let's move on then to what the F went wrong last week.
I don't have anything.
Do you know what? Our fact checker, Andy/Champs, also said he couldn't find anything.
Yes.
Hey! So,
Thanks, Andy.
yeah,
Thanks,
totally.
Andy/Champs.
Totally. He said, he didn't spot anything wrong, but he was listening when he was really fucking hungover.
Well, we'll have to thank the past this week on the tequilas then.
Yeah, exactly. So there we go. So for once we didn't fuck it. So let's move on then to random news.
Now, I want to start on a really serious note, please.
Okay.
I want to talk about piracy and I want to talk about illegal streaming.
Oh, what do you want to talk about? Because we never do any of that on the show.
No, we don't do it, and we don't endorse it, and we don't encourage it. It's not big, it's not clever, but it is sometimes quite funny. Mm-hmm. So for the KSI Logan Paul fight, I found this news article, and they were talking about because this is what do you call the youngest generation, like the current teenagers or
younger than millennials?
Yeah.
I think they're like generation. I want to say Z.
Is it Z?
Gen Z? Yeah.
Yeah. Gen Z.
Yeah, Gen Z.
So they're all computer savvy and au fait with the technology. So there's lots of opportunities for them to endorse or indulge in lots of piracy, right? So I saw this one clip, and it was this guy, and he was like, people do like live streaming where they're just talking into the camera.
Yeah.
And this guy was talking into the camera, but he was wearing sunglasses, and he was also watching Logan KSI. And there was a message came through to him on the chat saying, "Don't move, bro." And apparently, at one point, there were 11,000 people watching the fight in a reflection of his sunglasses, which occupied like 10% of the screen. I was like, "Are you actually serious?"
Yeah, it's fucking amazing. But here's the thing, right? Surely you can find a better stream than that, right? That's all I'm saying. Is surely you can find a better stream.
I just thought so.
Because you're also having to watch it backwards.
And it's around a kind of convex lens, so it's all kind of distorted as well as being like 3 millimeters high.
Totally. I mean, you know what? Listen to the radio for fuck's sake. You know what I mean?
Listen to the radio. Use your imagination.
Exactly. Shit.
Yeah, it's wild. So I thought it would be really widely streamed illegally because people who you don't have to pay for it to get it to then replicate it.
But I think like DAZN are quite clever with the way they have their app. It's like the BT Sports app that you get for EE, right? So I got it on my phone. It was free for with my contract, and I was like, oh, this is shit hot because I'll just like mirror it onto my laptop or whatever.
You can't do it.
You can't do it. Can't do it. It does not. It's like no. You can't mirror this, I'm afraid. It just doesn't let you. There are certain technological workarounds and apps that you can also use, but then they ultimately cost you money as well. So it's just fucking pointless.
So yeah, you can have a mobile only subscription to the Sky Sports Football, But obviously they are very, very protective. You know, they've gone to great lengths to make sure that it is mobile only. I have thought of an absolutely foolproof way around it though.
And what's that, Andy?
So you put your phone down with the screen showing, right?
Yeah.
With it running on it, and then you get like an HD camera plugged into your laptop or your TV, and you hold it like an inch or whatever above the phone screen so that it fills it up entirely, and then you can just direct that image onto your TV or your laptop.
Yeah, okay.
It's a very lo-fi way, but it's absolutely, unless they're psychic, they can't possibly know you're doing it.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to see how good your picture quality would be, but I think if you had a really shit hot camera, I think it would be pretty decent.
I think it's probably just as worthwhile buying Sky Sports.
Well, yeah, I mean that is obviously the most sort of convenient way to watch things on your TV is to pay for them legally.
Oh Jesus! Right now, there's some Lou DiBella news. Lou DiBella split with Wilder.
Yeah, he doesn't sound too bitter. He just sounds a bit sad, like it's a sort of semi-serious relationship, but he was more into it than she was.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I know. But what I don't understand about it actually is so they've confirmed this split, but I wonder if this is actually maybe a good thing for any future Matchroom and Wilder fights, because I think Lou DiBella was a little bit to blame for some of this breaking through, because I think he actually kind of financially holds back Deontay Wilder quite a lot.
Do you think?
Well, I mean, are you ever like, if you look at, the major comparison is obviously Anthony Joshua. In terms of the amount of money he's making, the fights that have been made for him and stuff like that, it's next level. Like, you wouldn't see Anthony Joshua fighting Luis Ortiz twice for probably not that much money in front of nobody. You know? Like, you just wouldn't see it.
Well, I don't know how many pay-per-views it would do, but was it on pay-per-view actually? No, the first.
Not in the UK. It was on Sky Sports.
I don't think I don't think the first fight with Ortiz was a pay-per-view in the States actually. I need to fact check that or have that fact checked, but I don't think it was.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it was. Well, it probably wasn't. It was probably just Showtime, like normal Showtime.
I think it was.
So I think Deontay Wilder probably could have made a lot more money if it wasn't for Lou DiBella. And so Lou DiBella's probably a bit upset because his cash cow has gone to be milked elsewhere.
I assume he will be upset, yeah.
Like, oh, fuck, that's a lot of money. It's just left me. But it's funny time to come so close to the rematch with Ortiz.
Yeah, I agree. He said he's still going to go. He's not bitter.
Oh, it's very nice of him, really, isn't it?
Very nice. Very magnanimous. What else? They're going to have a fight in MMA involving the president, Dana White, and Tyson Fury's father, John.
You know what?
What is this? What is this?
It's bullshit, is what it is, and it's bullshit. Because do you not remember Oscar De La Hoya was supposed to fight Dana White as well? It's just shit that isn't going to happen. It's bollocks. It's just a pile of bollocks.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I think it's very fair to say that no Fury is going to be fighting in MMA, actually.
Well, Tyson Fury was obviously put the video clip out where he's training with what's his name, Darren Till, who's an MMA fighter, and he's been chatting about he's going to train with Conor McGregor, he's going to get his MMA on. I don't know. I think that would be a more more explicit destruction than what happened when McGregor fought Mayweather. Do you know what I mean? That to the untrained eye, for at least a little while, that looked like a competitive boxing match. I mean, it wasn't, but you might have been forgiven for mistaking it for so. Tyson Fury goes in an MMA ring, he's going to get killed. Like he will go in against someone that's like, you know, the same size as him, but actually strong, and they'll have him on his back flailing about, and they'll break his jaw.
Yeah, I know.
You know, there's absolutely no prospect of him being able to compete in MMA. Like it would be ridiculous. It'd be utterly ridiculous, and it would be a very painful mistake, I think.
I think it would be as well. You know,
the same way that MMA fighters can't box. They can't go in and start boxing. It's just absurd. Anyway.
Now, there is all of this chat about who is Canelo going to fight next, right? I saw this like graphic that DAZN put up of like people in the in all the different weight divisions, saying like who should Canelo fight next, and like I looked at them. I think I actually commented on it, and I was like, well. You've put Dmitry Bivol up there, so it's definitely not him. It's no one at light heavy, because you've got Bivol and Beterbiev there. He's not going to fight either of them because he dies.
He's not going to fight either of them, no.
Right? He's not going to fight Callum Smith, because Callum Smith destroys him. So, you know, you've got either David Benavidez, Caleb Plant, Billy Joe Saunders, Jamel Charlo, Demetrius Andrade, because he's not going to fight Gennady Golovkin in case he loses. So, really, like, it's no one competitive is really the answer to that.
So my thinking is this. I think Billy Joe Saunders said this, and I think there might be a grain of truth in it. The kind of, for his point of view, the fortunate... The fortune to come out of his unintendedly poor performance is that he's much more likely to get a shot at Canelo. Yeah. I think Canelo would have beaten him in his if in his prime, assuming he doesn't recover it. But you know when he danced around Lemieux, he did look a very, very difficult boxer to fight. Not one that's going to knock you out, but one that can hurt you a bit, and one that's almost impossible to hit. And I think that Saunders is a prospect that no one really would want to take on.
No.
Whereas now probably Canelo will be like, well, I can just knock this guy out. So maybe that does get him closer. So and I don't think he goes back down to middle. I think he said he'd find it difficult because he's put on so much weight to go up for this fight. So if he's fighting at super middle, Benavidez is a pretty monstrous size. Callum Smith is beyond monstrous for a super middle. So you're left with either BJS or Caleb Plant. So I think he fights one of those two.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I don't know. Caleb Plant is then an American, so I don't know in terms of pay-per-view whether that makes a big difference. He's not particularly well known, I don't think. Obviously, he's a belt holder. Billy Joe Saunders was trying to make... They're supposed to be making a bit of a name for himself there, but don't know if he's... I don't think outside of hardcore many American boxing fans will have heard of him, but I still think it's one of those two, just by a process of elimination.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. You know, who has belt, who can be beaten.
Yeah.
You know?
That's it. And then he can... Because he's not legitimately super middleweight to say he's a 4-time champion.
No.
So it has to be one of those.
Ridiculous shit.
So maybe it works in Saunders' his favour. So, any more random news?
No. Do you have any more?
A couple of quick things. Tyson Fury, we did talk about this a bit, but he's saying he wants to fight in boxing Stipe Miocic, who is I don't know if he is just now or he has been. I think he maybe is just now the UFC heavyweight champion.
Right. Okay.
So he's saying he's going to fight him at boxing, and Miocic is like, "Yes, I will do this." I'm like, but hold on, you don't know how to box.
Yeah,
that's the problem there. Do you see that there's an issue?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he's a big dude. He's a big, scary dude. But obviously he can't box. So. Yeah, he did. He is the champion. He beat Cormier, so he is the champion as of August of this year.
Mm.
So.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
And here's a funny one for you. Do you remember our Turkish super middleweight, Avni Yildirim?
Yes.
Who
could forget?
Who made Chris Eubank look like a hero when he knocked him out in spectacular fashion in like 3 or 4 rounds in the World Boxing Super Series quarterfinal. He's getting a title shot at David Benavidez, right?
Mm-hmm.
Super middle, right? Now, the problem with this is his last fight, he lost. He was the challenger, and he lost. He was beaten by Anthony Dirrell.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So he had a title fight. He lost it. He's then immediately got another title fight where he's a mandatory. How does that work? How can you lose the vacant fight, the fight for the vacant title, and then you're immediately mandatory for the title again?
That sounds like WBC.
Is it WBC? He shouldn't have been mandatory in the first place. He'd done nothing. He'd beaten Lolenga Mock, who people are quite familiar with.
Fucking hell.
47-year-old Danish Zairian. He beat him, and then he got his title shot, which he lost, and then he gets another title shot. Anyway, I would expect him to be beaten well. Dirrell, he only just lost to Dirrell. I remember that. It was quite marginal, which shows you how bad Dirrell is anyway.
I mean, we've also got to remember that Benavidez failed for cocaine fairly recently. So,
didn't he?
And he's a belt holder.
I think he's really young, isn't he? He's 22. He's quite destructive, though, I think. And he's a big super middle. He's pretty fierce guy. So I don't think. So that's why I was saying I don't think Canelo goes for him because he can bang and he's a big man. He's 6'2". So I don't think Canelo probably would fancy that as much. He's young and fit and strong. So when he's not doing coke.
Yeah.
So anyway. I think that's about as much randomest news as I have. Don't think I've got anything else.
Yeah. Right. Well, do you want to tell me then what grinds your gears this week, Andy?
You know what really grinds my gears?
Yeah, I do, and I'm sort of stealing this. There was like a headline article on this, but I read it and totally agree. So I'm not going to go into too much of the detail because it's probably a little bit boring. But basically, Danny Jacobs, who's been fighting, is a kind of career or long-time middleweight, but in recent years he's struggled to make the weight. Top-class fighter, high-level guy, miracle man. So he's moved up to fight at super middle, which is where he should be now because it's too much of a struggle to fight at middleweight. His first fight at super middleweight is not challenging one of the belt holders, not challenging one of the top in the division, which is almost an oxymoron for most of the super middles. He is instead fighting Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Now, of course, this is Chavez Jr. of Chavez legacy. One of the best boxers of all time, sort of thing. But the apple fell fairly far from the tree, and Chavez Jr. is not a particularly high-level boxer. He's not great. He's got like a padded record, but he lost to most recently Canelo 2 years ago in an absolute shit show where he did hee-haw and Canelo beat him completely comfortably without having to do an awful lot. Trying to think who his notable wins are against. He also lost to Andres Fonfara, Sergio Martinez. He beat Andy Lee and Marco Antonio Rubio, Peter Manfredo Jr., some names you might have heard of, etc., etc. Anyway, he's good, he's fair enough, but he's not like a world-class guy, really. He's got a bit of a padded record. Anyway, Danny Jacobs, but he is a very big pay-per-view push. So he's a very good commercial person to fight against.
Yeah, he is.
So he's fighting Danny Jacobs. But the fight was kind of cast into doubt because, would you like to guess what happened, or you know what happened? But
I don't know, but I'm gonna guess drugs.
Went out on a limb there. So he would say no, not relating to drugs. But so the legislation is the regulations are as soon as the fight is announced and the dates, then the fighters are then subject to random VADA testing. I think this is one of the commission's regulations, and it's Nevada State, so it's supposed to be in Vegas. The fight was going to take place. So after the fight was announced, VADA tester turns up at Chavez's gym and says, "Can I have a urine sample?" And Chavez Jr. says, "Nah." And the tester says, "Yeah." And he goes, "Nah." He's like, "Give me your piss." And he's like, "I'm not giving you a piss. I'm taking your piss. I don't want you to take my piss. You don't have my piss." And they went on like this for quite some time. Anyway, he refused to give the sample.
Right. Okay.
Which is a big no-no.
Yeah, it's a very big no-no.
It's a very big no-no, and it would lead to the form of suspension. So, rather than going, okay, what's this all about, or what's happening, or trying to like reason it out, what they did was they then applied to a different Arizona State Athletic Commission, or whatever they're called, Arizona Boxing Commission, to then get granting for a license to fight in Arizona rather than in Vegas. So the fight has been moved to accommodate the fact that he refused to do a test rather than him being given an outright ban. But this is in breach of the Muhammad Ali Act, which says you're not allowed to call it commission shopping. You're not allowed to do this to try and avoid. So he should have been banned pending whatever investigation, but instead of kind of that meaning that he wouldn't be able to fight within that period, they've somehow got approval for that with a different testing regime, with a different body, so that the fight can go ahead. And everyone's come out and gone, "Oh well, okay, that's you're allowed to do that, but you're kind of not. It's probably illegal based on the Muhammad Ali Act that was to do with like reform of boxing." And I mean, it's completely morally very dubious as a practice, and Hearn's on TV just going, "Oh yeah, it's fine, he's signed up now," and it was because the fighters hadn't signed for the fight, that's why he didn't think it was fair to be tested, but now they're signed up, it's this testing regime and he's fully on board with it. Yeah, because he's not taking performance enhancing drugs anymore.
Yeah, I know, totally. He's clean now.
He's clean now. He's happy with testing now, fine. Testing then, no. I mean, it's pretty blatant, no?
Oh, of course.
This is pretty clear cut. You don't stop a police officer coming in your house, if you've not got it full of cocaine. Do you know what I mean? If you've got nothing to hide, why would you be bothered? In the same way that VADA are not going to screw you over. You're not going to get a false positive. It's the most sophisticated testing regime, isn't it?
Yeah.
So they're not going to test you and somehow condemn you for no reason. It's not a conspiracy. They're not against you. It's like they're only going to test you positive if you've been taking performance enhancing drugs.
I know.
Just a match fight. Jacobs will beat him comfortably. But even more so now, it's like, come on. Disappointing. So that's what. Did I even say I was talking about what was grinding my gears? Did I even get onto it, or did I just start? Can't remember, Ryan.
No. I'm
Good.
Yeah, I think it's clear now. Okay.
So after that rather passionate grinds my gears, would you care to tell me, Ryan, this week? Is there something that's been floating your boat, or something that's been grinding your gears?
You know what really grinds my gears?
Right, Andy, there is something that's been grinding my gears this week, right? But the way I'm gonna cage this is, I don't know if you ever watch on Match of the Day 2. They've got Too Good, Too Bad, right? I've got a too good, too bad with the same
Yes.
person, and it's Tyson Fury. Right? So he's been
knew you
like
were gonna say
fucking
Tyson
love bombing the press this week. Coming out, he's released a book.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so he's released his book, and so he's been coming out, kind of talking about, you know, like what life was been like for him, and you know, he came out and he kind of said, like, some of the reason why he was, some of the language he used in the past was so disgusting, and he said, like, some of it was because, you know, I felt as a bit of an outcast because of my like traveler background, and I probably, like, you know, went too defensive and was a bit too outrageous, blah blah blah. And when I heard this kind of stuff, I was like, right, that's pretty nice, that's good stuff. But then what really fucked me off is he still insists he's not a drugs cheat, right? Right? In his book, he says that he isn't a drugs cheat. It's like, oh, I just can't believe that this. I don't know. It must be because we were eating uncastrated wild boar. I'm sorry. Like, look. You were banned for drugs, right? You and your cousin took nandrolone, right? You had high levels of nandrolone in your blood. That is why you were suspended. You were a drugs cheat. It's, you know, there are enough people in boxing that have been banned for drugs and come back, and it is what it is, right? And I think that, like, until I think he is able to, and also, like, kind of blames his, you know, depression and everything on being banned, and it's like, well, you took cocaine and you also took steroids, right? So that's why you were banned. You kind of brought that bit upon yourself. And it really fucks me off that he still cannot just come out and say, yeah, I was a drug cheat. I mean, if he hadn't almost bankrupted UCAD, he would still be, like, banned. Mm-hmm. If the UK government had backed UCAD and said, do you know what? We will cover the bills of your legal costs. Tyson Fury would still be serving a ban for performance-enhancing drugs. That's the long and short of it. You know, he'd still be out. He would still... Because he wouldn't have gotten a retroactive ban. He would have been banned for, like, 2 years or something. You know? There are a lot of, like, track athletes and stuff that just didn't have the money to fight UCAD in the same way, and that's why they end up with these, like, ridiculous bans, like 4 or 5 year fucking bans, like end of the career length bans for like, you know, if you're a track athlete and you get like a 5-year ban, that's you. You're done. You're fucked. You're never running again. Yeah. So, you know, just because he had like £1 million in like fucking like legal fees, that he could just be like, yep. Whatever, doesn't matter to me. I've got more money than you. Do you know what I mean? It would have been 4 or 5 years in court. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I think he needs to start being a bit more honest about the fact that, like, he's let off on a technicality, really, and that's what kind of fucked me off.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, and he was. It wasn't that he was exonerated. He was 100% not exonerated. They didn't say, "Fair enough, we can't prove that you did it." They're like, "We don't have the facility to fight this anymore. Therefore, if you accept this, we're agreeing that this is the punishment for you," which is not exactly. It's like a plea bargain. That's what he got. It was not saying he was exonerated. If he was completely innocent, he could have gone, "I'm not accepting this." But he did serve a ban, and he was and the record shows that he served a ban for being for drugs cheating. So it's not that he was an innocent man. It's not what happened.
That's what was grinding my gears this week, Andy. Yeah, it's like the old days, man.
It's like the old days, Ryan. It's like the old days.
I know, man.
Pay-per-views and
it's vintage boxing.
It's just like the old times. Finish.
Exactly.
We're back to normal next week.
Well, guys, that is us for this week. Just shout out to all the guys who've been like commenting on the Facebook page recently and voting on stuff. Really great chat, amongst yourselves. I think that's banging. We've even had people contacting us about, friends who've written books and stuff, and see if they can get interviews. So there's maybe some like really exciting stuff in the pipeline. So thank you very much. But with that in mind, it is goodbye from me, Ryan.
And goodbye from me, Andrew.
Right.